So our topic for today is food chain, and number 2, humans and food chain. So we will start with topic number 3.2, food chain. So number 1 point is that we need energy. Okay, so why we need energy? We need energy to perform our daily life activities. For example, if we want to play, we need energy. If we want to run, we need energy. If we want to play on our mobile, if we want to use our mobile, we need energy. So we need energy for everything. So how do we get energy? We get energy by eating, by food. So you can say that food gives you energy. You need energy to perform tasks or work. If you want to work, you need energy. And how do you get energy? By food. Okay, so you can say that food gives you energy. Okay, food gives you energy. You need energy to perform your tasks, your work, and you get energy by food, or simply food gives you energy. So you can say that all the living things in this world, for example, plants, animals, human beings, so all the living things need energy to perform their activities. And we get energy by food. So if we summarize this, number 1, we need energy to perform activities. And we get energy by food, by eating. So what is a food chain? So what is a food chain? Food chain shows how energy which we get by food passes or transferred from one organism to another. So what is a food chain? Food chain shows that how energy is transferred from one organism to another. For example, here the energy from grass is transferred to deer. Then energy is transferred from deer to lion. And then energy from the lion is transferred to the soil. And then this soil become fertile and the nutrients go to grass. Okay, I will explain this later. Okay, but the point is that food chain shows, this is a food chain, and it is showing that how energy is transferring from one organism to another. Simple. I will repeat that food chain shows that how energy which we get by food, by eating, this energy is transferring from grass to deer, and then from deer to lion, from lion to soil, and then from soil to grass. So it is the transfer of energy from one organism to another. So a food chain has 3 parts. Number 1, producers. Number 2, consumers. And number 3, decomposers. Okay, you have already studied decomposers, but I will explain again. So repeat, food chain has 3 parts. Number 1, producers. Number 2, consumers. And number 3, decomposers. Now I will explain one by one. Producers, consumers, decomposers. So we will discuss producer. So what is a producer? Point number 1, its definition. Organism that create food is called a producer. For example, plants. Plants create food. Plants create fruits, seeds, roots, leaves. Okay, we eat the roots of plants, we eat the leaves of plants, we eat the stem of plant, we eat the fruit of plants. So we can say that organisms that create food, that produce food, is called a producer. Point number 2, that food chain begin with a producer. Okay, food chain starts with a producer. So in this example we can say that food chain starts from here, grass. Point number 3, producers are always plants. In this case, tell me which one is a plant? Grass. So now see here. Point number 1, organisms that create food is called producer. Grass create food. Okay, grass create food for deer. Okay. Number 2, food chain begin with producer, or you can say that food chain start with a producer. So food chain will start from here, from grass. And number 3, producers are always plant. So in this whole food chain, grass is a plant. I will repeat the producer. Producer, produce. The word comes from produce. So you can say that living organisms that produce food is called a producer. Okay. You can also write here from create to that produce. Okay. Organisms that produce food is called a producer. Number 2, that food chain starts or begin with producer. Number 3, producers are always plants. So in this food chain, grass is our producer. Okay, I will repeat. Number 1 point, organisms that produce food is called a producer. Number 2, that food chain start with producer. In this case, food chain will start from here. And number 3, producer are always plants. So in this example, our grass is our producer. Simple. So now we have consumer, the second part of food chain. Number 1 was producers. Number 2 is consumers. So producers were the organisms that produce food. Now consumers, the word come from the consume. Consume means use. So the organisms that don't produce energy but consume or use it are called consumers. I repeat that organisms that don't produce energy but consume it, use it, are called consumers. Number 2, animals are consumers. In the previous, we started that plants are producers. Now animals are consumers. In this example, where do we have animals? Deer and lion. Deer is an animal, lion is an animal. Deer is not producing energy. It is using energy from grass. Lion is not producing energy. It is using energy of deer. So they both are consumers. Consumers. Okay, because they are consuming energy. They are using energy. If we summarize consumers, the organisms that don't produce energy but consume or use the energy are called consumers. Number 2, animals are consumers. In this example, deer and lion are consumers. Why? Because they are animals and they are not producing energy, they are just using energy. Deer is using energy of grass, lion is using energy of deer. That is it about consumers. It is decomposers are the third part of a food chain. Food chain has producers, consumers, and decomposers. We have studied producers and consumers. Now, decomposers. Decomposers are the organisms that break down the waste and dead bodies of plants and animals. Like plants and animals and human beings produce waste. Okay, we produce waste and we die. So we have waste, we have dead bodies. Okay, where do we bury our dead bodies? In soil. Our dead bodies go into the soil. But after some time, when you open the grave, you see a dead body. It's only the skeleton, only the bones. Okay. Now tell me that where does the flesh, our skin, or you can say our meat go? Because after some time, when you bury a dead body, when you see a dead body, after some time, it's only bones. So the answer is that our body is decomposed. Decomposers break down, or you can say breakdown means that decomposers eat the waste and dead bodies and produce nutrients. That is the meaning of break down. So that living organisms that break down the waste and dead bodies of plants and animals are called decomposers. I repeat, how they break down the waste and dead bodies. They eat or you can say they use the waste and dead bodies of plants and animals and produce nutrients. Okay. Here I will write decomposers use waste and dead bodies and produce nutrients. When you eat something, you get nutrients in your body. Okay. So when you die, these decomposers eat your body and release the nutrients. Okay. They release the nutrients and they get the energy. Okay. So organisms that break down the waste and dead bodies are called decomposers. So decomposers use the waste and dead bodies of plants, animals and human beings and produce the nutrients. That's the second point, that they break down waste and dead bodies to transfer the nutrients to soil. Okay. Where does our waste go? Where does our dead body go? Of course, into the soil. Okay. So our waste and our dead bodies go into the soil. Soil, earth. Okay. So our dead bodies and waste go into the soil. And these decomposers eat our waste and dead bodies to produce nutrients. And where these nutrients go? These nutrients go into the soil. Okay. Now tell me, when a soil becomes full of nutrients or becomes rich with nutrients, it's called fertile, right? soil becomes fertile. Okay, so now decomposers has 2 points. Number one, organisms that break down waste and dead bodies of plants, animals, and human beings are called decomposers. Symbol. The organisms that break down waste and dead bodies are called decomposers. So, how they break down dead bodies and waste? They use waste and dead bodies, or you can say they eat waste and dead bodies and release or give nutrients. Okay, the point number two is they use waste and dead bodies to give nutrients to the soil. Okay, and in return the soil becomes fertile. Fertile means a soil rich with nutrients. Okay, a soil that is rich with nutrients is called fertile. Okay, now see the example. See the example, grass, deer, lion here. Now, what will happen to the lion? Lion will ultimately die. Okay, when it will die, its dead body will remain in the soil. But after some time, its dead body will only be bones. So, where will its flesh go? The decomposers decompose or break down the dead body of lion. Now it will release the nutrients into the soil. So that's why the line, it is decomposed by decomposers in soil. So here we have decomposers. Okay, now here we have decomposers. Now the decomposers release the nutrients in the soil. Okay, it releases nutrients in the soil and the soil becomes fertile. Now how it will help the grass? Now grass has a lot of nutrients, so it will grow better. Nutrients means, if you don't know what are the nutrients, nutrients are carbohydrates, fat, protein, vitamins, water. These are all nutrients. When you eat something, it has oil, so you get fat, you get protein in your body, you get fat inside your body, you get carbohydrates in your body, and when you die, these decomposers use your body and transfer these nutrients. For example, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, water, vitamins, everything to the soil. Soil becomes fertile and these nutrients are used by plants or grass to grow better. These nutrients will help the grass to grow better. Okay. So now we will summarize our food chain. We have, what is a food chain? A food chain shows how energy is transferred from one organism to another, from grass to deer, deer to lion, lion to soil, and from soil to grass. So it is a food chain which shows that how energy is transferring. Simple. Now food chain has three parts: producers, consumers, decomposers. What are producers? Produce. The organisms which produce energy are called producers. And a food chain starts with a producer. It's number one, number two, number three, number four. Okay, a food chain starts with a producer and plants are producers. Now, number two, consumers. Consume. Organisms that consume energy are called consumers. Okay, and animals are consumers. In this example, deer and lion are animals and they are using energy. They are not producing energy. So they are consuming energy, they are using energy. Deer is using the energy of grass. Lion is using the energy of deer. So these are consumers. Number 3, we have decomposers, organisms that break down waste and dead bodies of plants, animals, and human beings are called decomposers. What decomposers do? They use the waste and dead bodies of plants and animals, and they release the nutrients of our body. Okay, nutrients like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins. So they release the nutrients of our body from our dead body to the soil, and in return soil becomes fertile. Fertile means soil become rich with nutrients. Rich means a lot of nutrients. Soil has a lot of nutrients. Now the lion, when it will die, the decomposers will use its dead body, release the nutrients to the soil. This soil becomes fertile. Now this soil will have a lot of nutrients, and it will help the grass to grow better. It's about food chain. In a food chain, you give something and you get something. For example, grass is giving the energy to deer but also getting the energy from soil. Lion, it's getting sorry, lion is getting energy from deer but also giving its energy, its nutrients to the soil. So in a food chain, you give something, you get something. Okay, give and take. You give something, you take some. Yes, you take something. Okay, so it is all about food chain. And if you don't know, you know what is a grass? Grass is a plant. You know grass. Okay, deer is al-ghazal. Al-ghazalu, deer. Lion, asad.